The first time I lived this life, I was a fool. My name is Anya Sharma, and in my previous life, I was the quintessential good girlfriend. I was the manager for my boyfriend, Karen, a talented but arrogant painter. I believed in his genius, funded his expensive art supplies with my meager salary, and handled his volatile moods. My entire world revolved around his success. The crush was Ria. She was Karen's artistic muse, a delicate, ethereal girl who painted dreamy watercolors. Karen had always claimed she was just a source of inspiration, a platonic ideal. I was the practical one, the rock, the one who made sure he ate and paid his bills. I was the background character in my own love story. The turning point was the Pan-Asian Art Contest. It was the biggest opportunity of Karen's life. The winner would get a prestigious gallery show in Singapore, a career-launching prize. Karen, Ria, and I were all finalists. Karen, ever the dramatic artist, was having a meltdown the night before. He insisted we all stay at the same hotel to brainstorm and support each other. I was the one who booked the rooms. In my previous life, I booked 3 adjacent rooms. I was naive. I wanted to be close to him. I wanted to support him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went to his room to talk, to reassure him. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, and my world shattered. He wasn't alone. Ria was there, not in her ethereal painting smock, but in a silk robe. Karen's hands were tangled in her hair. They weren't talking about color palettes or brush strokes. Their conversation was a cruel, whispered verdict of my existence. She's so practical, Ria had said, her voice laced with pity. It's suffocating. She thinks buying him canvas paper is love. She's useful, Karen had replied, his voice cold. But she's not art. She's a utility. A patron for the poor, struggling artist. She would never understand the kind of passion you and I have. I heard them mock my clothes, my boring corporate job, the way I laughed. They joked about how they'd use the prize money to go to Paris, without me. The plan was already in motion. They were going to announce their romantic collaboration after the contest, publicly humiliating me and leaving me with nothing. I stumbled back to my room, the world spinning. The next day, I performed my duties like a zombie. I cheered for Karen. I smiled at Ria. My heart was a black, empty pit. They won. They got the gallery show, the fame, the love. And I was left with the wreckage. I fell into a deep depression, lost my job, and became a cautionary tale for my friends. Don't lose yourself for a man. I died, not in a dramatic way, but from a slow, quiet eroding of my soul. I was in my late 20s, broken and alone. The rebirth. Then, I woke up. I was in my old apartment, my phone buzzing with a familiar notification. It was Karen. Anya, you're a lifesaver. Hotel deets? Make sure Ria's room has a bathtub, she likes to soak her brushes. I stared at the date. It was the day before the contest. I was 24 again. The exact same moment. But this time, I wasn't a fool. I was a ghost given a second chance, armed with the memory of my own destruction. I got up, took a long, calming shower, and looked at my reflection. There was a fierce, cold light in my eyes that hadn't been there before. The love was gone. In its place was a burning, righteous fury. Plan. Execute. Survive. The first thing I did was cancel the hotel booking. I called the Park Royal and told them I needed to change the reservation. Instead of 3 rooms, I booked 1. A suite. For myself. Then, I booked a second room at a completely different hotel, the Grand Majestic, a seedy, less reputable place with thin walls and a reputation for its bar being frequented by the city's gossip columnists. I made the booking in Ria's name, using her email address that I knew was linked to her art website. Next, I called Karen. Listen, I said, my voice perfectly calm. I've been doing some research. The art director of the contest, Mr. Varma, is staying at the Park Royal. I can't get us in there, it's too obvious. But my cousin works at the Grand Majestic. I got you both rooms there. It's more private, more discreet. The press won't find you. It's better for your creative process. Karen, predictably, fell for it. The promise of privacy and secrecy was catnip to him. He loved the idea of being a mysterious artist. Then, I called Ria. Ria, darling, I said, my voice dripping with false camaraderie. Karen is so stressed. I've booked us all at the Grand Majestic. It's very bohemian, very artsy. And it's far from everyone. It'll just be the 3 of us. I made sure to emphasize the 3 of us. That night, I arrived at the Grand Majestic early. I wasn't checking in. I was setting the stage. I knew Ria and Karen would arrive together. They'd probably share a cab, their hands touching in the back seat, their plans already forming in their minds. I waited in the lobby, a plain, nondescript cap on my head, a book in my hands. I saw them walk in. Karen, looking handsome and intense, and Ria, floating in her floral dress. They were in their own little bubble. I didn't go to them. I walked to the front desk, flashed a smile at the clerk, and handed over a note in a sealed envelope. For the guest in room 204, I said. It's very important. Room 204 was Ria's. Then, I went to the hotel's small but well-frequented bar. I ordered a club soda and waited. I knew Karen would be agitated. He'd want to come over to my room to talk about strategy. I was staying at the Park Royal, not here. But I made sure the gossip columnist, a man named Mr. Chatterjee who was a permanent fixture at the bar, was sipping his whiskey next to me. I pretended to be on the phone. A loud, dramatic, one-sided conversation. Oh, my God. You won't believe what I saw. Karen and Ria. At the Grand Majestic. They think they're so clever. They were whispering about eloping after the contest. They said I was just a stepping stone. Can you believe the betrayal? They're in 204 and 206, having a private celebration tonight. I'm so heartbroken. I'm going to confront them. I'm going to get it all on tape. I'm going to expose them for the liars they are. Mr. Chatterjee's ears perked up. His eyes gleamed. A juicy celebrity scandal the night before a major art contest? It was a goldmine. The trap. The Grand Majestic was famous for its echoing, paper-thin walls and its rickety ventilation system. I texted Karen from my phone. Karen, I'm at the Park Royal. I'm not feeling well. I think the stress is getting to me. Can you maybe just give me some space tonight? I'll see you in the morning. To Ria, I sent an email from a fake account, posing as the contest coordinator. Ms. Ria, your room at the Grand Majestic has been upgraded to a suite. Please confirm your check-in. Also, Mr. Varma will be conducting a pre-interview in the lobby bar at 9 p.m. Please don't miss it. Of course, they didn't know about each other's plans. Karen, thinking I was gone and depressed, would be feeling guilty and relieved. He'd go to Ria's room to console her and celebrate their upcoming success. It would be passionate. It would be loud. Ria, seeing the email, would be confused. There was no suite, and the pre-interview was a lie. But she'd show up at the bar at 9 p.m., hoping for an advantage. Instead, she'd find her room empty. Or so she thought. At 8:55 p.m., I made a final phone call. I called the Grand Majestic's front desk, pretending to be Ria. Hello, this is Ria in room 204. My throat is so sore. Could you please send up some hot water? And could you also inform Mr. Varma that I will be a little late to the bar? I am expecting a guest in my room. A special guest. It's part of the private celebration. At 9 p.m., Karen, a bottle of cheap champagne in hand, walked towards Ria's room. Ria, meanwhile, went down to the bar. She saw Mr. Chatterjee there, but no Mr. Varma. She looked confused. In her room, Karen called out her name. He was expecting her to be there. The room was empty. He started pacing. He was getting anxious. He was about to leave, but then he heard a key in the lock. It was Ria. She'd come back to her room, the phone call to the front desk fresh in her mind. Mr. Varma is in the bar, Karen? What are you doing here? You look stressed. The door clicked shut behind her. Ria stood frozen, her hands still hovering in the air where the doorknob had been. Karen was across the room, halfway to the window, his posture rigid. They had been in the middle of something stolen, something urgent, and now the silence between them was louder than any words they had exchanged moments before. Their perfect, secret meeting was out of sync. Then, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. A low hum vibrated through the walls, and then a thud echoed from above. A vent cover fell from the ceiling, spinning once before landing on the floor in a metallic clatter that seemed to shake the very air between them. And that's when I made my entrance. I wasn't in the vent, of course. That would have been too theatrical, too predictable. I was on the other side of the wall, in the room next door, sitting cross-legged on a creaky bed with a cold cup of coffee in my hand. It was one of those old-style hotels, the kind with peeling wallpaper and stained carpets, where the air vents and connecting rooms were left open for air circulation, as if anyone actually believed that excuse. The same vent system that connected their room to the room I had secretly rented for one night under a fake name. A name they would never recognize, from a life they had never known I lived.